The day my best friend destroyed my reputation was the same day I realized I had never truly known her at all. We had been friends for 9 years. 9 years of shared birthdays and late-night phone calls, and knowing each other's deepest fears and biggest dreams, and most carefully guarded secrets. And it was one of those secrets, the one I had trusted her with on a quiet Tuesday evening 2 years earlier when I was at the lowest point of my life, that she chose to use against me. Not quietly, not privately, in a group chat with 47 people in it, including my colleagues, including my neighbors, including people I had known for years and whose opinions of me I had spent years carefully and honestly earning. I found out at 7:30 in the morning on a Wednesday, when my phone started lighting up with messages from people I hadn't spoken to in months. I read the group chat in my car in my driveway before I went inside. Then I sat very still for a long time, because what Sarah had done was terrible. But what I had done 3 weeks earlier, quietly, without telling anyone, for reasons I will explain in a moment, meant that terrible was not the end of this story. It was only the beginning. But before we dive deeper into this story, I want to ask you a small favor. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we are not even halfway through. Every single one matters deeply to me. And if this story already has you feeling something, go ahead and tap that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it truly means the world. Thank you. Now let's get into it. Let me tell you about Sarah first. Sarah and I met in university, during the first week of our first year. We were assigned to the same study group for an introductory module, and we discovered within 20 minutes that we had grown up in towns 40 minutes apart, had both spent our childhoods reading the same obscure series of books, and shared an identical and deeply unfashionable opinion about a particular film that everyone else seemed to love. We became friends the way you become friends at 18, quickly, completely, and without the careful assessment that adult friendships tend to require. Over 9 years, that friendship had survived different cities, different jobs, different relationships, and the ordinary distance that life puts between people who care about each other, but are busy caring about everything else at the same time. What it had not survived, what I had not seen coming even though I perhaps should have, was success. Specifically mine. I worked in communications, content strategy, brand narrative, the kind of work that is difficult to explain at dinner parties, but that I found genuinely absorbing, and that I had been quietly building a reputation for over 6 years. 2 years before this story begins, I went through something that I am not going to describe in detail, because some things deserve their privacy even in retrospect. What I will say is that it was the hardest period of my life, that it involved a personal situation that I was not proud of, and that I had handled badly before I handled it better. And that on a quiet Tuesday evening, when I needed to tell someone I trusted completely, I told Sarah. She held my hand across the table and said all the right things, and I believed her. 18 months later, my career had recovered from that difficult period and then exceeded where it had been before it. I had won a significant industry award. I had been profiled in a trade publication. My name was being mentioned in rooms I had worked for years to reach. Sarah's career had not moved in the same direction. I had noticed the shift in her over those 18 months. The way her enthusiasm for my news had gradually become something more effortful. The way our conversations had started to center less on shared experience and more on a comparison that I had never invited and that made me uncomfortable every time I felt it happening. I had tried to address it gently twice. Both times she had deflected and smiled and said everything was fine. Everything was not fine, and 3 weeks before that Wednesday morning, I had recorded a conversation, not because I was planning something, not because I had predicted exactly what was coming, but because something in me had shifted. Some quiet internal alarm that I had learned over years to take seriously, even when I could not yet articulate what it was warning me about. We had been having coffee at her flat when she made a comment, casual, almost throwaway, about the personal situation I had confided in her 2 years earlier. Something that referenced it in a way that felt like a test, like she was checking whether it still had the power to affect me. I drove home from that coffee, feeling unsettled in a way I could not shake. That evening, I made a decision. If she ever brought it up again, I was going to be prepared. I downloaded a call recording application on my phone, legal in my jurisdiction for personal use. And the next time Sarah and I spoke, 4 days later on a phone call that started normally and then shifted, I let her talk. She talked for 11 minutes. About the personal situation. About the details I had shared with her in confidence. About what she thought people would think if they knew. About how certain mutual contacts had been asking her lately whether everything was really as good for me as it appeared. I listened to all 11 minutes. I said almost nothing. When we hung up, I saved the recording in 3 separate places. Then I went about my week, and I waited. I want to pause here for a second, because I know some of you listening right now have felt that specific quiet alarm that tells you someone you love is not quite who you believed them to be. That moment, when a small thing happens, and something in you goes still. If that's you, I see you. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. We are building something real here together, and I want you to be part of it from the very beginning. The group chat message went out at 6:47 in the morning on a Wednesday. 47 people. Everything I had told Sarah in confidence 2 years earlier laid out in a paragraph that was written with the specific, careful cruelty of someone who has been composing it in their head for a long time. My phone lit up for 40 minutes straight. Some messages were from people asking if I was okay. Some were from people who said nothing, but whose silence told me everything about how they had received what Sarah had written. And some, a smaller number but a significant one, were from people who wrote variations of the same thing. That they didn't believe it, that they knew me well enough to know that whatever had happened in my past, it was not a reflection of who I was now. That they were sorry this had happened to me. I read every message. Then I called my lawyer. Not dramatically, not in tears, with the specific calm of someone who has a recording saved in 3 places and knows exactly what it contains. My lawyer listened to everything. Then she listened to the recording. Then she told me what my options were clearly and without embellishment. I took 2 of them. The first was a formal cease and desist letter sent to Sarah that same afternoon, requiring her to remove the message and issue a correction to the group chat. The second was a defamation notice that outlined exactly what I had documented and exactly what I was prepared to do with it if the matter was not resolved. Sarah called me 4 hours after receiving both documents. She was crying, not the honest kind of crying that comes from genuine remorse, the frightened kind that comes from realizing that the thing you did has consequences you did not anticipate. She said she hadn't meant it the way it came across. I said I had the recording of our phone call, and that I was confident a reasonable person would have a clear view of exactly what she had meant. She asked what I wanted. I told her. A full retraction in the same group chat. A private apology to every person she had shared any version of this information with outside the group. And no further contact. She agreed to all 3. The retraction went out that evening. It was not a perfect document. It was the kind of apology that people write when they are more sorry for being caught than for what they did. But it reached the same 47 people, and it said what needed to be said. I did not respond to it publicly. I did not post about what had happened. I did not tell the story to mutual friends looking for sympathy or validation. I simply let the retraction sit there and went back to work. Here is what I learned from all of it. I learned that the most important thing you can do when you feel that quiet alarm going off inside you is to listen to it without dismissing it. Not to act on it immediately, or impulsively, or from a place of fear, but to listen, to take it seriously, to give yourself the small practical protections that cost you nothing but that mean everything if the alarm turns out to be right. I learned that the people who try to damage you with your own truth are counting on 2 things: your shame about the past and your unpreparedness for the present. Remove both and they have nothing. And I learned something about friendship that I wish I had understood sooner. Real friendship does not curdle in the presence of someone else's success. Real friendship expands. It finds more room. It celebrates without measuring. It sits beside you in your difficult moments, not because it plans to use them later, but because it loves you, and that is simply what love does. If the friendship in your life cannot hold your success without becoming resentful, it was not the friendship you believed it to be. That is not your fault. But it is important information, and I want to hear from you now, because your perspective genuinely matters to me. Have you ever had someone use your own confidence against you? How did you handle it? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and I always want to know what you think. If this story meant something to you today, please give it a like right now. It helps more people find this channel and hear stories that remind them they are not alone. And if you are not yet part of this family, please subscribe. I will see you in the next story. Take care of yourself, always.